Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to the first VR cast in 2022. It has been a while since the last time we met on another platform. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you here, both in this Engage environment and also at the live stream. So we have a live stream into YouTube. So for those of you who joined there, welcome as well. It's great to have you here. My name is Michael Alf. I'm a member of the VR Business Club and the moderator of the VR cast. So we have a relatively small group, but that doesn't hold us back to have a great session together. I'm really excited to have you all here. And we have a very, very special guest. Cecile, welcome to today's VR cast, the first in 2022. I met Cecile the first time at the event of the VR AR Association. So I heard you speak and I thought that would be a great first guest for the VR cast. So thank you for making the time and sharing your wisdom here with us. What we will do, we will have a brief presentation, which you have here on both sides. We have two large screens, and then we have enough time for question and answers. With that, Cecile, I would like to hand over to you. Maybe you want to briefly introduce yourself, because you can do that a lot better, and then we can get started and enjoy the beautiful environment. And we have people here now from, myself, I'm in Australia at the moment in Melbourne. We have Luxembourg, we have France, we have the UK, Germany. Yeah, so it's a very global setup as always, and it's a great pleasure. So again, Cecile, welcome to the VR cast.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Oliver, for inviting me. That's always nice to join people, even if it's virtually. And I really enjoy the nice venue here. So it's so beautiful. And as we said, it was very fast to drive from home to here. So my name is Cecile. So I'm a part of HP VR business unit, and I'm leading VR for Europe. So I'm really, really happy to join you all today. And what I'd like to share with you is how VR is transforming the industry right now, with a couple of very interesting use cases and examples from our customers. So let's go. I think there will be a question and answer just after the session.
That's right. I think it's best to have that after you present it. Yeah. So you have one flow. And then we can go back to single slides, obviously.
Okay, good. Okay, so can you go to next? Okay. So clearly, what I like to say that when you look at the industry, everybody has a reason to use VR, and the reason industry are investing in VR is because it's bringing tangible ROI. Everybody knows from VR from historical gaming background, but we see more and more VR booming in the industry, and in the future at HP, we really believe that it would be the new era of IT for business, becoming much bigger than for gaming. And I just posted here the main usage and the main reason people are investing in VR. The number one usage we see is clearly training, and the reason is because when you are doing training in VR, you get a much better retention rate. So we just measured the retention rate after 1 year on a practical training, and you get 75% retention rate of what you have done, what you're learning VR after 1 year, when it's to compare to 5% in the lecture. And the reason is because VR is so immersive that your brain really believes that you have done the task. And I don't know for you here, but I really feel I am in this room with you all together. So that's
Absolutely.
why VR is so powerful for training. The second part is collaboration, and it's exactly what we are doing. As you said, Michael, you're in Australia, I'm in France, with people from Germany, from Luxembourg, and we are all together here. So VR is an amazing tool to bring people together. It's true for a meeting as we do today, but it's also true for engineering. Engineers, for example, or architects, they can do instead of having this nice layout, you can imagine having the CAD file of a plane or a car or whatever, and we could be doing a nice design review. And we run some interviews across engineerings, and it seems that 35% of the engineers recognize the value of the immersive collaboration. So that's another big area of VR use case. The second part is creation. So we start seeing application when engineer can create in VR. So I could imagine sketching a car here in VR. So it's a good supporting tool because you see really you are immersed in the CAD, in the 3D. So you really can see what you are designing. And the last point is selling. You may have seen, I'm showing here an example of sales drive application from Rewind, one partner in UK. You can, sales and marketing team are using VR more and more to build sales configurator. So you can technically drive the car you would purchase. So you see that that's really very, very broad, and it can apply to any industry. So if you can go next. And what I like is in this chart is that it's also, you have many usage, and it's, if you look at in one industry, it's at every stage of the workflow. So practically any business unit, any group of one company can have an interest in doing VR. So it starts from the concept and design. So, I mean, these obvious things from the engineering part to engineering, manufacturing, and then marketing, sales, and even support operation. So all the companies have a benefit to do VR. And that's where we see this technology really spreading largely and being a massive revolution of, of enterprise in the future. Next. So here I will, I think it's better to see real concrete use cases. I will illustrate from one customer in Germany. They are selling forklift, and associated to the forklift they sell, they're also providing training. So they build up a very nice forklift simulator in VR, mixing up real simulator and VR. So just have a look at the video. I think it's more self-explanatory than I can do. I really like this example because they are really combining both worlds, the virtual and the real one, and it's part of the certification. And if you can picture yourself in the future, you can imagine doing any type of simulator. This is forklift, but you can have anything. You can simulate any operation in manufacturing. So if you can go next.
Just a slight moment as it's just reloading.
No problem. No problem. I'll try to share where HP's position. You may know HP from our traditional PC and printer industries. And on VR, we want to bring the same level of performance and quality that we bring with our PCs. So that's what is driving our portfolio design. I can go to it. So we do have at HP 2 VR headsets, Reverb G2 and Reverb G2 Omnicept, and all these headsets are designed by our workstation design team, so having the same professional quality performance. And when it comes to VR, what is really important in what we design, it's really, we want to ensure that the best performance, you get the best performance. So that's why our headsets are bringing very high refresh rate, so 90 frames per second, to avoid any motion sickness. We have also 90 updates per second on the tracking and controller to have a very smooth and controlling and position controlling. We are bringing part of our workstation business VR ready computers. So we have a very, very large portfolio of VR ready computers. And we are working with a set of software vendors that provide the best immersive content that you can play in our headsets. So that really the HP VR headsets are designed having the performance in mind. That's what matters. High resolution, high frame refresh rate, and comfort to provide to build the best VR experience. So if you can go next, I will just quickly share some insight on our headset. So we have launched last year the HP Reverb G2, which is the highest resolution of this in its category. I think for now the Reverb G2 in Germany is priced around €600. For a resolution, as you can see, 2160 by 2160, it's very high. It's 30% more than the Oculus, for example. It's equipped with the Valve lenses to make it super clear. We also have the Valve design ear speakers to make a perfect audio. And we have 4 cameras to track the movement. So 90% of the movement are tracked with our tracking system, which is an inside-out tracking system. And we make it super light, so it's less than 500 grams to make it very comfortable for long VR experiences. So really, we used to call it the king of clarity to really build the best experience in VR. So if we can go next. And also what we did, which I think is unique in the market, we worked with our software partners to certify the headset to make sure that it's working perfectly with the most popular applications. So typically, Reverb G2 is certified by Autodesk for VRED and 3ds Max, or by Siemens for Sim Centers, Unity and Unreal, of course. And you see here a set of different applications popular in the design and architecture industry, Enscape, for example, as well. So what is important here is that we provide headset to these professional software vendors, and they make sure that it's compatible, that it would be a seamless integration for the customers. So if you imagine an architect that wants to be equipped with an headset, they don't have to worry about the compatibility with the software. We have done it before. So next. And as I mentioned, I mean, obviously HP, we are number one workstation producer of the world. So we have a set of very powerful PCs to run VR. So practically equipped with the latest graphic cards from NVIDIA. So we have ZBook Studios, ZBook Fury, which are our powerful notebooks. We also have a set of towers that can be equipped from different and a large variety of graphic cards, from the NVIDIA GeForce up to RTX A5000 and 6000, which make that you can have the perfect bundles. And go next. Yeah, so here it's once again a good example from one of our customer in London, Harrop. It's a large architecture firm, and they are using VR all along their workflow, as I explained. So they're using for design and review, and for customer reviews. So the video in, so you will see there.
Is all about innovation. How can we be the best we can be? To do that, we need to come up with new ways of working, and using VR is that differentiator. HP's recent release of the Reverb headset, that thing is incredible. The resolution, they're the partner of choice for our VR environments. So we use that for showcasing some of the proposed work. We can have the public come in and comment on things that they can see. They don't have to understand drawings. All they need to do is just use their eyes and just see and experience it. Prior to the first spade in the ground, that's a really compelling story. We're also using it as a collaboration tool, having multiple teams, multiple disciplines across multiple offices all coming together in that one VR space. And we've been able to do that by using some of the VR technology that HP have been providing us. Utilising VR during the workflow and the design process, there's been a number of occasions where you can actually be in the room and then have someone else in another application, could be halfway across the world, doesn't matter. Oh, you know what, that beam is blocking the light from this thing here, and then they can just move it in real time. We're putting it in a fully defined space that everyone can experience. The feedback for VR has been positive. There are some that took their time, and as soon as they start seeing projects and seeing the capabilities, they soon come around. Until you experience it, if you're looking from the outside in, it just looks weird. But I think if you actually then experience some of these projects, then you'll see for yourself just how powerful it can be.
So I think I like to have user testimony rather than just theory. And what I really appreciate in Harrop is that they are using a different stage. And the good thing is that architecture or engineers, they already have the CAD file anyway. They are used to work with CAD for years. So it's very convenient and easy for them to translate in VR, and they see added value because they can be immersed in the design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can go next. Yeah. So for next year, I'm talking about more an innovation and really getting in the future. So the future happening now. So we also have a second headset, which is called HP Omnicept. And HP Omnicept is it's a fusion of VR and artificial intelligence. So can you go to next? So I explain a bit more what it is. So with HP Omnicept headset, you can, we are moving in the next step. So we get more in touch with the users. That enable people to create user-centric VR experience. So what we did, we take Reverb G2 headset, as I described, and to which we added a lot of sensors. So we added a pulse sensor, eye tracking, pupillometry, so pupillometer, and face camera. So you get all bioanalytics data that can be integrated in the software. And we also developed an artificial intelligence that is taking these data and providing an input on the cognitive load. So if you can go next. So you can imagine if it's a tool we provide to software developers. So with that, you can do what is called, we can have contextual behavior. So with the eye tracking and the pupillometry information, you can, let's imagine a car designer. If they want to test different design scenarios, you can test it in virtual reality, and you will see, based on the eye tracking and the pupil dilation, what is the best or the preferred design, what is the most ergonomic, or what are the most important part in the design. So it gives automatic insight, a real-time insight of the way the user will perceive your design. So it's really helping to speed up the design phase. You don't need so many prototype, and you can have much more customer insight virtually. Everything is virtual, so you can do all these design reviews before having built anything. You can adapt your experience real time with the heart rate to get insight on the stress, for example. So imagine fireworkers training. If you want to make sure, if you have, the instruction is to stay calm, you can measure it when having the heart rate. You can have better human interaction. I mean, here with Engage, I just probably move just my mouse based on my voice, but with the face camera, I could have an avatar that is exactly reproducing my face movement. And of course, you can do optimized visualization with what is called foveated rendering. So you can have better resolution around the eye. So where I'm looking, I get a better resolution than on the sides. And with the cognitive learning side, you can get an overview of the engagement and the expertise. So that just give me, next slide, just go a bit in the cognitive load. So cognitive load is a way to measure the effort to learn something new. And we have several applications that are using this. So basically, when you know real time, you can get the information, how the training is doing, how the trainee is engaged, how effort is done to learn something, and how is the expertise growing. So if in the example I'm showing here, you can use these for soft skill practicing. So here it's to practice public pitch, example. You can follow the learning curve, so how fast you are learning to speak in public. In high risk and safety with the pulse, as I mentioned, you can see, and you can also monitor yourself to stay calm. And in industrial and maintenance procedures, you can have, the teacher can have real-time feedback on how the procedure works. If we can go next. Yeah, something important is that HP business model is nothing about the data, and we are what is important for us is the security and safety of our users. So HP Reverb Omnicept firmware capture the data, but nothing is stored on the headset. It's GDPR compatible, and it's also the data are aggregated, secure, and de-identified. So there is no way to connect the data to the user. So I think it's also for me super important to note this, because we are manipulating personal bio data that can be very, very sensitive. So if you go next, I think I have, yeah, so it's better to show an example of somebody using our Omnicept SDK, and in that case, this is for use for hiring. So it's also another part of industry. When people in the work, there are a lot of jobs intention when they struggle to find people for these jobs. So having VR experiences can be interesting to show jobs to the new to the students. Can you start the video? Here, when you see this type of safety training or procedure training that can be used in many, many industries. And they will use in their controller, they're using the pulse, having information on the cognitive load to figure out what are the steps that are well known and which one needs to be redone. which training is how fast the expertise grows. In that example, the people training are doing the same training several times, and they can measure the evolution. You have the cognitive growth curve here that show you where what goes well, what goes wrong, and you see the evolution of the expertise all across the different sessions. So that can be a very useful tool for training in particular. And here we go. So that's it for me. If you want to connect us, I think you do have my mail here. We also have a software engineer, Sergi Tortorja, in charge of Omnicept software. In particular, in Germany, Jürgen Meyer, I think Jürgen is in the audience, is our VR specialist. So you can feel free to connect with him. Yeah. And you can also join our developer program or have some much more information on Omnicept.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cecile. And can we clap hand actually a bit?
If we can, all you need to do is tap your controllers together, and Cecile will get the much-deserved applause.
Very nice. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I think it's really fascinating to see what you're working on, and especially that last part, combining AI, the data, and how kind of how the body responds is, I think, is quite amazing to see. Let me start with a question, and then we'll open the floor in a moment. So, I mean, we are at the beginning of 2022, and when I see these numbers, I think it's so obvious, that that you just, I mean, everybody should use VR, and when you talk about kind of 75% versus 5% or 10% in terms of learning something, you okay with the board?
No, I don't know.
That's okay, Cecile. I can. Yeah, no problem. I'm just going to have to
remove this.
Delete that for you. No worries.
I don't even know how did I made it appear.
It's actually a whiteboard. So if the idea was collaboration, as we discussed earlier, it would be a perfect fit. So no problem. I can get
can you remove it?
Maybe we take it away for a moment.
That's
so
okay.
So coming back to the question. We are at the beginning of 2022, and when you see those numbers, how powerful and effective VR is, then you wonder. I mean, everyone should use VR and do as much as possible in that space, in learning, but also in collaboration and so on. So, which clearly is not the case yet. Yeah. So it's more and more popular. But I mean, there's still a lot of people who have never used a headset, and for them it's completely new. So how do you see then, when you look at 2022, and obviously you have a great overview perspective. What do you see as some of the highlights in 2022? How the whole VR space is developing this year?
Yeah, so I think it's a very good question. I mean, we all are in the VR world, so we are himself as a VR nerd. So we know we are really deep in the technology, but it's not the case for everybody, obviously, and it's progressively growing. Clearly, I mean, we started at HP. We started VR 4 years ago. I see a huge difference. 4 years ago, it was mainly a geek things for gamers, and we see more and more industry moving forward. It's slow. I agree. It's taking time, but I see a very fast acceleration. And the acceleration factors are, number one, I think it's use case. So the people start seeing concrete use cases and start to be convinced. And even internally in one company, usually they start with one business unit, and then it's growing across all the industry, all the company, in different spaces. That's the first thing. The second was probably the complexity of finding the right solution, because most of the people don't know how to develop VR application, and they don't necessarily have developers in house. And the fact that we see more and more software vendors that are providing turnkey solution makes that it's becoming more popular. So, the software presented in one of the slides a couple of years ago, there was nothing. It was more service type of development. So people were developing their own application ad hoc. So I think having these more and more software available make it easier to deploy. So I think that's it. And the last thing is getting device lighter, more affordable, also making it more popular. And of course, well, I should not quote that, but the fact that Facebook changed the name to Meta and talking about this Metaverse and all the things make it much, much more visible.
I think that will help as well and trigger, which actually brings me to another question. I mean, HP, clearly your focus is more on the B2B side. Yeah, you have the headset is really high end also, and the applications you develop. And then you have obviously the B2C, with Meta and Oculus in that space. Where do you see kind of the main driver coming from? Is that more on the consumer side, or is that more B2B?
Long term, we see B2B, clearly, because there are so many applications. You will have, as I said, training everywhere, collaboration, design, etc. So we see long term B2B becoming bigger than B2C. That's not the case right now. And also, as for traditional products, you will have different type of the portfolio will be addressing different type of usage and different price. So you can imagine having a basic standalone headset with good enough resolution and performance for traditional casual games and social media, and we see having higher performance headset for a different application. So we see the market growing everywhere, B2C becoming bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do now is open the floor. Who has questions? Abid, can you just briefly explain how that works? Just to unmute, or what's the...
Absolutely.
Or is the hand rising, or
yeah. So if you're on a PC or a Mac, you'd press either the escape button and then simply unmute yourself, or just F1. That's the quickest way. And if you're on a VR headset, you'd simply press the menu with your right thumb on your right controller, and then just unmute yourself there. And please raise your hand if you are using a VR headset, and then that will give Cecile an indication that you're about to ask a question. What I'll do for everyone's ease is I'll unmute or request unmute for as many people as possible. So feel free to ask away.
Wonderful. So who has the first question?
Yeah, maybe
Christian.
So I see that actually we have a high difference between the qualities of the mobile devices and the cable-connected, computer-connected devices. And I see that your G2, one of the best, from my perspective, quality in clarity and pixels. But do you see that we have a realistic chance to bring these quality of the cable-connected to mobile devices within the next years? Or what's your strategy in HP? Is that something you aim for?
I think it's a good question, and I think it's what we have seen traditionally in any technology. There is always a race of performance and bandwidth. We have seen that in the graphic cards, in the processors, the wireless. Clearly, I think we foresee that in a couple of years, you will be able to get higher graphic performance in the standalone. But usually, you have two curves growing. So you have the standalone graphic performance that will grow, and in parallel, the graphic cards on PC will also grow. So that's why we think we don't see the standalone will kill the tethered. We see still a market for both. It's a different market. Both of them growing in performance, getting more and more resolution, probably more and more frame rate as well. But keeping both, having different usage. I can figure out that the standalone, obviously, they are convenient, easy to use, but you will never be able to have the super high resolution content, nor long and complex interaction because of the lowest frame rate. And tethered would bring high resolution. So it's a balance between performance and ease of use. And we don't see one killing the other. Like you do, I mean, if you look, for example, the gaming PCs, you have casual game PCs and you have high-end game PCs.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. Other questions? Raise your arm if you have a question. Otherwise, Michael, no? No? Otherwise, I'll ask another question. So obviously, you mentioned the whole kind of interaction with artificial intelligence. So how do those two play together? Yeah, the whole virtual reality, how it's working, and how do you see that in the future? Because what you explained in your use cases is quite fascinating. Yeah, that the headset almost knows more about the user than the user, and so it's an interesting loop. So where are the trends going there?
I think when we can imagine having more and more, the technology is here. So there are sensors that are capable to provide a lot of insights on the users. There is a lot of neuroscience universities that are working on how to interpret this data. So what we see in the future, that this headset will become more and more intelligent, being able to capture more and more data and to build one more insight on different things. What we measure here is the cognitive load and the level of stress, but you could imagine having information on your emotion, your expression, things like that. So we with the growth of the AI and the understanding on the connection between the physical, physiological information and your brain behaviors, I think we can get more and more insights from the headset. And progressively, you can imagine this insight being more and more integrated in the experience. So having at the end, you could imagine having a completely fully adaptive experience.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Cecile. Other questions? In the audience? No. If not, yeah, Abid. Yeah.
I wanted to mention the M word, Metaverse, and Cecile, just get your thoughts on where you see kind of HP's involvement with that in the future, and even from a B2B perspective.
Well, so for us, I mean, for the VR community, Metaverse is nothing new, because what I'm considering that I'm in the Metaverse right now with you.
Yes.
So we think it's more a buzzword to make public something that is already being developed by the VR community in particular. So when clearly, as you mentioned, HP, we are a hardware designer and provider. So we see us as providing tools to access diverse, let's say.
Mhm.
But clearly we see, and COVID probably has accelerated this trend.
Mhm.
We see companies that are more and more creating their virtual environment to get people connected, to meet together, etc. So that's clearly a trend. And in HP, the part we see is to bring infrastructure and tools to access to this metaverse. That's the way we see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think I'm working with organizations and putting together events, and also there the trend is towards the avatar based environment, but we also do work on what we call corporate metaverse, and we see a trend there clearly, or that organizations think about how to actually interact with the employees and how to offer that environment, and that coupled then with what you talked about before, that you have all these sensors. It becomes more and more realistic to be actually in this environment. So therefore, the interaction and the collaboration becomes easier and easier and more natural. And I think that will be a huge trend. Maybe I'll take that as an opportunity, Abid. If you want to just talk kind of 2 minutes about kind of where we are here. Yeah? So one version of the metaverse, the engaged environment. I think it would be good to tell kind of share with the audience where we are, just in a kind of 2 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. Hi, everybody. I've met a few of you guys. I haven't met everybody just yet. My name's Abid. I'm the business development lead for Europe in Engage, the current platform you're in. And we are essentially a virtual communications platform for events like these, for collaboration, for even a concert. So anything you basically want to do with a VR headset and working with other people, that's what we're basically designed for. I've been working with Oliver and Michael for some time in regards to setting this all up, and we're going to be in a partnership going forward. So that's all quite exciting. And I'll be here to take any questions regarding that as well. And just overall, just having a bit of a chat, since we've got so many people from different walks of life in different parts of the world. A huge pleasure. So thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Abid. And again, Cecile, thank you very much. Are there any final questions? Otherwise, we'll go to kind of more the informal part. Let's see if we have some drinks somewhere, and connect and get to know each other. But is there a kind of final opportunity for any questions for Cecile? By the show of hands, no. Then again, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming here to the first VR cast in 2022. We will continue that journey for the on the next one. Very excited about that, and thank you very much. Also, thank you for those who were actually at the live stream. And have a wonderful day. For most of you, the day just has started. For me, it's kind of now getting to the end of the day. Thank you, Raj, and see you soon.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
Thank you, Cecile.
Yeah, thank you. So, the beautiful San Francisco skyline. It's funny.